dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
Hey, good evening, guys. It is Tuesday night, and that means it's another edition of Stateside Footy. Man, oh man, oh man, what a fantastic weekend. We have news and notes tonight. Of course, we have the weekend wrap-up, but before we get into it, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also hit the notification bell as well, too. We are so damn close to 400 subs on this channel. And of course, we'd like to get to 5. All of that would be fantastic. It's 2026, man. It's a World Cup year, man. Get your subs out. God damn it. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead and get into it because we do have some news first before we get into it. The San Jose Earthquake. That's correct. The San Jose Earthquake have signed RB Leipzig striker Timo Werner. And this is kind of interesting because Timo Werner has been linked with Major League Soccer for at least a year now. And of course, last summer, there was talks about him potentially going to Red Bull Leipzig. And then, of course, after the season ended, and of course, coming into January, you heard the rumors about Inter Miami. Of course, none of that turned out to necessarily be true. But the reality is Timo Werner had MLS written all over him. And of course, the market for Timo in Europe pretty much is dried up. I wouldn't say this is the only league he can necessarily come to, but that being said, he's actually kind of a perfect fit. 29 years old, still has about a good 2 or 3 years left in his prime. Obviously a striker, but he can also play on the left wing. So he's going to give Bruce Arena a few different options of how to deploy him. But when you consider the player profile that Timo Werner is, the speed factor, you're coming to a league that is also a very pacey league. I have a feeling that Timo Werner is going to distribute quite a few goals this season for the San Jose Earthquake. So congratulations, by the way, to the San Jose Earthquake. Finally showing some ambition after years of being in the toilet in the Western Conference. Terrible ownership, all that good stuff. And it looks like they have come good for Bruce Arena. Otherwise, he probably would have taken the job to begin with anyways. Quick shout out to my guy, Ace Lionel 44. What's going on with you, my friend? Hopefully you're doing well. And of course, the other news is regarding Josh Sargent. And of course, Sargent has been linked with Toronto FC. Word is that they are trying to finalize a deal, which would be kind of up to about $14 million. And of course, that would, if this deal is completed, it would make Josh the third most expensive transfer fee in MLS history after Son Heung-min. And I know that there's a lot of people that were talking shit about it. But that being said, 25 years old, coming back to Major League Soccer. or actually just coming to Major League Soccer. And one of the things that I will say about Josh coming to Major League Soccer, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. Although he kind of strikes me as a guy who probably would have tried to exhausted his options in Europe. I know that like for the last couple of years, he's been talking about wanting to get to the Premier League. And, he's had a couple good seasons where you think that maybe that might possibly happen with either a newly promoted team or maybe a mid-table team. It just hasn't necessarily happened because, of course, each of the last couple seasons, even though that his goal contributions are pretty good, there's always that little portion of the season where he constantly gets hurt. Last year was no exception as well, too. And so from that standpoint, the offers never really came. And, of course, he had the offer to go back to the Bundesliga this last summer. He put the kibosh on that move, which I think was actually reported to be around 24 million euros. Of course, Josh now obviously is married and has a kid, didn't necessarily want to go back to Germany. Word is that he didn't necessarily enjoy his time in Germany to begin with in the first place. So it is what it is. And now there's an opportunity to come back to the United States. I would probably think that if Josh were probably not married and dealing with kids and didn't have a wife who, didn't want to come back to the United States, I'm sure he probably would stay. But that being said, obviously Major League Soccer is going to pay him, a crazy amount of money to come back. And now you have to wonder, what this is going to do for his national team, national team picture, not just for 2026, but maybe there's a potential for 2030. I think he'd probably be right around 29, 30. So maybe not. But that being said, when you're talking about, raising the ground floor of Major League Soccer, these are the type of deals that definitely do it. We're not talking about Robert Lewandowski, who's 37 years old. You're not talking about Messi or Sonny or some of these guys that already had a good decade and a half in Europe before coming back over. You're talking about a guy that's coming back in the prime of his career, and he happens to be a member of the U.S. men's national team. And so from that standpoint, these are the type of moves that are probably going to make your league better, although the European portion of the U.S. men's national fan base just loves nothing more than to dunk on Major League Soccer. Fair. There's plenty of things about Major League Soccer that I don't like. But that being said, it's like if you have an opportunity to bring back a dude in his prime, why not? And if Toronto is willing to do it, more power to them. So as soon as that news is actually official and final, I will be back to talk a little bit about that deal. So definitely stay tuned for that. All right, let's go ahead and get into it because we actually had some pretty good results this last weekend. We began in Ligue 1. More importantly, the Coupe de France, as it looks like Monaco beat Orléans 3-1. Flo Balogun played 86 minutes in this one, and he scored a goal on one shot, 27 touches, 10 of 13 of accurate passes, and that's pretty much all he had in this game. Granted, he scored a goal. Coupe de France, I gave him a 7 rating. And again, these are the type of matches that Ballo seems to feast in. But that being said, I think it's like now 4 of his last 8 that he scored a goal in, and it looks like Ballo's in form, and this is exactly the type this is exactly what you want to see as we get closer and closer to March. Definitive number 1 as of right now, if he keeps doing this, obviously there's going to be a clear-cut separation between 1 and 2 because the number 2 got hurt again. And we have to talk about this because Ricardo Pepi, by the way, and it looks like he is going to be out for 2 months as he fractured his arm right around the 26th minute in a match against Exclsior in the Eredivisie. By the way, on the play that he fractured his arm, he scored a goal. He did manage 2 shots on net, 6 touches total, 3 in the opposition box, 2 of 2 of accurate passes. And what's interesting about this is if he didn't get hurt, this is probably going to be one of those matches where he probably scores 2, has an 8 rating, that type of performance, because Ricardo Pepi was absolutely in form when this injury went down. And now all of a sudden he's going to be out for 2 months. Now, the good news is this is not really a long-term type of issue. Now, the problem is that he's not going to be around for the March camp I don't necessarily this to me, this doesn't mean that he's not going to be a part of the World Cup roster. I actually have a really sneaking suspicion that he is, because the rest of the guys behind him, the guys that, essentially have made the striker pool recently, has not really been performing all that well. And so from this standpoint, it absolutely hurts. So first and foremost, I actually wish Ricardo Pepi a speedy recovery, and hopefully by the time the end of April, maybe towards the end of April, he gets back. And the question is how quick that he can get back by the end of May, because that is going to be the question. World Cup starts June 12th. So if he is in a position where maybe he can actually get maybe 4 or 5 matches in before the end of the season, getting himself back into a position where he's back up to a full 90 at the very least, 100% Ricardo Pepi is going to be ready for the World Cup. And so from that standpoint, this is actually a good thing because, again, this is not long-term, and Pochettino is going to need Ricardo Pepi at the World Cup. Ace Lionel goes on to say Pepi's goal was the most bizarre goal. Seriously, right? Because it seemed like he tripped forward and then bizarrely, in a weird angle, landed on his left arm, or his right, his left arm, but he scored the goal at the same time. And so, first and foremost, man, props, because that was hardcore parkour, right? I don't know how you guys felt about that. I felt like he was, that was a nice little, old school parkour move to score a goal, but at the same time, he's out. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly happy about it, but you're absolutely right, Ace. That was actually kind of a bizarre goal. We do have to talk a little bit about Haji Wright, because again, he did not produce any GA this week. And now, since the October window, okay, where he got the brace, I believe it was against Australia, Haji Wright has not scored a goal in 17 consecutive. he has not scored a goal. Yeah, exactly, right? Hardcore parkour. He has not scored a goal in 17 consecutive matches in all competitions. And this is an interesting one too, because at that point between October and November, it would almost look like Coventry was going to run away with the championship. And then all of a sudden things kind of slowed down a little bit, as now all of a sudden the goals that they were able to find in the first half of the season, not so much anymore. And it looks like maybe, the pack is kind of caught up to them. But the problem is Haji Wright, who started the season on fire and carried it all the way into the October window, all of a sudden has gone ice freaking cold, to the point where you're kind of wondering, when is he going to be able to start scoring goals? The minutes have kind of decreased with him a little bit. He's still getting starts, but he's not taking advantage of them at the moment. It is what it is. And it's a little disconcerting. And hopefully maybe Haji can pull it out. And I know there's been links. There has been a link to the Premier League. Whether or not that actually gets done is yet to be seen, because again, it's kind of hard to justify a move for a guy that really hasn't scored since October. So we'll see exactly how that pulls out. Because we had mentioned Josh Sargent, he pulled out of his match this weekend because of the ongoing negotiations. Now, of course, their head coach at Norwich City said that he's absolutely not for sale. But you understand how that is, man. This is all posturing. And the way that I look at this is yes, Norwich do have an inclination to keep him, because they're fighting a relegation scrap, and they're going to need all the help that they can get. Fair. That being said, they're going to get relegated anyways, and then they're going to lose him. Whether you want to lose him now or whether you want to lose him at the end of the summer, the reality of the matter is if just like Haji Wright, there it's been not that great of a season essentially since early October for him. He's got a couple games where he scored a goal, but the production of what you would expect Josh Sargent just necessarily hasn't been there. And the reality is there's no sign that it's going to start picking up. What you would like to see is a purple patch from him, but the reality is I don't even think that's going to be that. And so if that's the case and they keep him, and he actually has his worst GA in Norwich, that means his value completely drops, and you're not going to be able to get what you think that he's worth. So the question is do you take your money now, or do you take less in the summer? And so there's probably going to be motivation from Norwich to get this deal done. So from that standpoint, Josh obviously didn't play. And it sucks because I like Josh, but I think this is probably like the best move possibly. And again, like if you guys aren't Major League Soccer fans, fair, whatever, man, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to like. But again, for a league that is trying to, raise its talent floor, to get a good American striker back in the middle of his prime, that's actually kind of a good thing, considering like usually when we usually get U.S. men's national team players back, it's usually at the end of their career. When you think about Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey, those type of players, yeah, we got them back towards the end of their career. And now all of a sudden, last summer we get Paxton Aaronson, and now we're going to get Josh Sargent. So it looks like for certain players, that door to come back to the U.S. to play in Major League Soccer is wide open. It looks like the money is going to be there, and so from that standpoint, it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't think these players are going to have too many regrets. That's just what I'll say. Damian Downs, by the way, did make a move. He is now with Hamburg, and as he is trying to push for a spot on the World Cup roster. He is back in the Bundesliga, and he made his first appearance for Hamburg in a 2-1 loss to Freiburg. He had 68 minutes in this one. Not really much to write home about, but that being said, he's going to get a lot of run for Hamburg in a race to get a roster spot. And here's the interesting thing. When it comes to the March camp, and now that Pepi is out, the interesting thing is going to be, number one, how quick is Josh Sargent going to be able to get in? Because if I'm sure he wants to get this thing wrapped up as quick as possible. He's in midseason form. So you probably expect of all the people that are going to be able to start Major League Soccer, Josh Sargent probably is going to start off possibly well. How is that going to play in it by the time we get to March? That's number one. Also, Patrick Agyemang. He also has been playing, but he's also been playing out on the left for Derby County. So how is the striker pool going to work out for March? Is this where it's going to be like Ballo, Agyemang, and Downs? Or like me personally, like the whole concept of this is like you have to be playing well. Haji Wright has not been playing well, so I would probably assume that he's not going to be a part of this equation. But then again, neither has Agyemang. So is this going to be something where it's going to be like Ballo, Sargent, and then like Brian White? You know what I mean? Like that's what I want to know. How is the striker pool going to be looking for the March window? Like it's probably not going to be its strongest. You're hoping that Agyemang or Wright, start kind of picking things up a little bit, or maybe even a Damian Downs, but it's going to be interesting to see how that striker pool for the March window plays itself out. Let's turn to the forwards now. As Christian Pulisic played a full 90 in a 1-1 draw against Fiorentina. And if you guys have been paying attention, Fiorentina is going down this year. Not the Fiorentina of years past. As a matter of fact, they're getting a new director of football on their way back down to Serie B. But Christian Pulisic played a full 90. He had 3 shots on net, 3 chances created, 54 touches, 6 in the opposition box, 27 of 31 of accurate passes, 4 of them into the final third, 2 of 4 of accurate crosses, 5 of 9 of ground duels, and that was good for a 7.5 rating. And he did everything except for score a goal. And again, it's Christian. These are the things that we expect from Christian, and it's nice to see it. Now, the question that I actually have for the rest of you, because really, like when you look at his deployment, it almost feels like he's right, because right now I believe they're kind of like in this whole cup. They're in the Coppa Italia, and so really the question is like, are they going to rotate him out of some of those matches and just kind of focus on Serie A? I would probably assume so. So you're probably not going to see a lot of Christian Pulisic playing twice a week, which I'm perfectly okay with, me personally, because I actually want him available for the World Cup. I don't want to see him, ground into the dirt. So from that standpoint, it's like as as much as AC Milan wants to use him to win things, it's kind of like it feels like he's being used for the Serie A campaign, not necessarily so much Coppa Italia, unless they get to a point where they're about to win it. Then I would probably assume that you're going to see him playing those as well too. But as of right now, it almost feels like he's being rotated, and I don't mind it. Malik Tillman and Bayer Leverkusen lost 4-1 to Stuttgart. He played a full 90, had 2 shots, 2 chances created, 60 touches, 6 in the opposition box, 32 of 35 have accurate passes, 3 into the final third, 2 of 3 of aerial duels, good enough for a 7 rating, and it's nice to see Malik Tillman back. And it looks like Germany pretty much is back from its winter break. Listen, this is the consistency that we've seen all year from Malik, and I like it because me personally, I think Malik Tillman is a starter right next to Christian Pulisic. If the World Cup started today, my attacking 3 is essentially going to be Ballo, Pulisic, and Tillman in that order. If you're playing with 2 inside forwards, right? So from that standpoint, like Malik Tillman, as far as I'm concerned, that right side at 10 inside forward position is his to lose. I don't think that, me personally, I don't think that Gio Reyna has done enough. Yes, he had the last time we saw him in the November window, he played well, and there's no doubt about it. And he was given a start right after, but again, it's been hit or miss with Gio. And you wonder whether or not he may or may not be involved in that March camp, because when you look at the guys that are behind Malik Tillman, whether it's Weston McKennie or Brenden Aaronson, clearly those 2 players are right now playing at a higher level and playing better than Gio Reyna at this point. Malik Tillman being one of them. And here's the interesting thing. I can make a case right now for Weston McKennie to potentially start at that position over a guy like Malik Tillman. Although me personally, I just think that the position suits Tillman a little bit better. But I digress. Speaking of Weston McKennie, his team beat Cremonese 5-0. West played a full 90, scored a goal on 4 shots, 64 touches, 9 in the opposition box, 40 of 44 accurate passes, 5 into the final third. And it looks like he had 3 of 3 successful dribbles, 4 of 6 of ground duels, which is good for an 8.5 rating. And if you guys watch that show, if you watch that match, Weston McKennie was literally running roughshod over Cremonese. He was pretty much everywhere in that attack, in most of their attacking sequences. His foot was on the ball. Essentially, his foot was on the accelerator for most of that match. And now all of a sudden, it's weird. Now that we hear the news that Weston McKennie is going to be available, he's playing for his next contract. Like, the idea that he's coming back to Major League Soccer now, I don't think so. And especially if he finished the season on fire, there's going to be teams out there that are going to take him. I can't see West coming back to Major League Soccer right now. And if it's a situation where he's in double-digit goals and double-digit assists, yeah, he's not coming back to Major League Soccer right now. I know that is the conventional wisdom, but when you're seeing a dude like this literally put up numbers and you're doing it in a consistent clip, there are going to be teams that are going to be looking at it like, you know what? At the very least, he's going to be on a good team, being first off the bench at least to start. I don't think it all depends. I guess it all depends on the money structure, but I can't see him coming back. And then also Brenden Aaronson, he had a midweek game against Newcastle. They lost 4-3. Leeds lost 4-3 to Newcastle. Brenden Aaronson, by the way, played 89 minutes and scored 2 goals in this one. Had 3 shots on net, 58 touches, 5 in the opposition box, 27 of 35 of aerial duels, 3 of 3 successful dribbles, 11 defensive contributions, 7-11 ground duels, 2 of 3 of aerial duels, and that was good for an 8.5 as well too. And this is the interesting thing, because Brenden Aaronson all of a sudden starting to round into form. And when you look at his last 5 matches, you're starting to see the production meet the work rate that he's so famous for. And this is the thing. It's like I have Brenden Aaronson on my World Cup roster right now because there's going to be a spot for a dude that works his absolute nuts off and will score you a goal and can score you a goal. And the fact that he's demonstrating his his skill set in the Premier League, even for a team like Leeds, by the way, they're staying up, so he's going to be there next year as well too. It just goes to show you the growth of a dude like Brenden Aaronson. Foolishly, I was the one to put my hand up last year, and I thought that maybe his brother might be better. And I know that I still somewhat believe that to an extent, but when you're doing it in the Premier League, you might. Me personally, I think you sold me. So from that standpoint, I'm the one that actually has to apologize because, yeah, Brenden just might be better. Let's go to defensive midfielders. Tanner Tessman is back as Olympique Lyon beat Lille 2-1. And I believe this again was in the Coupe de France. And it looks like Tess got a full 90. Did create one chance, 38 touches, 25 and 27 of accurate passes, 1 of 1 of accurate long balls, 4 defensive contributions, which is a solid 7 rating for Tess. And of course, Tess is coming back from an injury. And so it's nice to see him back. And it feels like all is well with Tessman. And I think this is actually going to be pretty good for him because he's going to be one of the guys that I'm going to have penciled in the March camp. And so if he's able to keep things relatively calm and quiet and no injuries between now and then, he's going to be there. He's going to be one of those. He's going to be an absolute huge. He's going to play a huge role in this camp because let's be honest, we don't know whether or not Tyler Adams is going to be back by then. My guess is no. And so from that standpoint, that CDM position is going to be interesting. Me personally, I feel like this is going to be another opportunity for a guy like Christian Roldan to come in and play serious minutes. And if he is, chances are pretty good he'll probably make the World Cup roster. Turning to Aidan Morris, as they lost 3-1 to Fulham in the FA Cup. Aidan Morris played a full 90, had 92 touches, 75 to 79 of accurate passes, 3 into the final third. 2 of 3 successful dribbles, 4 of 8 ground duels, and that was good for a 7 rating as well too. And it's nice to see Aidan Morris, even in a losing situation. It's nice to see some consistent numbers across the board. It's kind of weird because for as much as Coventry has kind of been on a downward trend, it's kind of weird because Middlesbrough's kind of feeling the same way as well too. Like I feel like one of those 2 teams are probably going to win the championship. Both probably go up, which wouldn't surprise me. But this is the time of year where you're starting to you're kind of getting to that squeaky bum portion of the schedule where you raced out to that nice big old lead, but now you actually have to hold it. So let's turn to wingbacks because Jedi played 2 once in the midweek last week. A 2-1 win over Chelsea. And ironically, I think this is the match where Enzo Maresca ended up getting fired. Jedi played 73 minutes, had 61 touches, 35 of 42 of accurate passes, 2 in the final third, 6 defensive contributions, 4 clearances, 5 recoveries, and that was good for a 7 rating. And then during the FA Cup, he only played 24 minutes against Middlesbrough and a 3-1 win. But that being said, it was only 24 minutes at the end of the match. Not necessarily much to write home about. Really just coming on to make sure that the game stays exactly where it is so they advance. So from that standpoint, it is what it is. But again, when you get that kind of result against a team like Chelsea, those are absolutely huge numbers. And of course, Jedi has been the best player for Fulham since he's been back over the course of the last 5-6 appearances. So good to see Jedi rounding into form. Serginho Dest They obviously beat Exclsior 5-1, as we mentioned earlier. He played a full 90, 68 touches, 39 of 43 of accurate passes, 9 into the final third, 4 of 6 of successful dribbles, 6 recoveries, 9 of 12 of ground duels, good for a 7.5 rating. And I think this is now interestingly enough, this is the 5th straight appearance for Sergiño Dest that had a 7 rating or better. The dude is kind of ripping it up right now. And I don't think there's going to be any conversation about who's going to be starting on that right side from a wingback perspective. Now, granted, it's the interesting thing, right? So me personally, he's going to be starting that first game on the 12th of June, but I could see a situation where, depending on the opponent, they might rotate depending on if they need the better defense from a guy like Weah. But yeah, I just don't see a situation where Dest isn't the starter come the start of the World Cup. Speaking of Timmy Weah, he played 45 minutes and a 9-0 win over Bayo in the Coupe de France. In that 45 minutes, he had 1 shot on target, 26 touches, 18 of 19 of accurate passes, 2 in the final third, 2 tackles, 2 of 2 ground balls, good ground duels, good enough for a 7 rating. So it's nice to see Weah there. By the way, a quick shout out to Gianluca Busio. I forgot to mention this earlier. He had his 9th straight appearance with a 7 rating or better in Serie B. And it's kind of interesting because I mentioned last week there is interest for him. The question is whether or not, Venezia is going to let him go. That might be something that might happen in the summer window. But you would probably think that Busio probably wants to make the move now because, there could be an outside shot that he makes it. I doubt it, but keep your eye on that one. Turning to center backs now, Mark McKenzie. His Toulouse won 6-5 in a shootout over Angers. He played a full 90, 1 shot, 1 chance created, 68 touches, 38 of 47 of accurate passes, 10 into the final third, 4 of 9 of accurate long balls, 9 defensive contributions, 5 tackles, 5 of 5 ground duels, and that was good for a 7.5 rating. And it's nice to see McKenzie rebound from last week. Wasn't exactly his greatest performance last week, so it's nice to see this. And again, it's the Coupe de France, but good performances are good performances. So from that standpoint, you're not going to shy away. Speaking of good performances, Austin Trusty as Celtic beat Dundee United 4-0. And again, coming off the back of the firing of Wilfred Nancy, who he left Columbus Crew, obviously, for Celtic. It didn't work out. Austin Trusty played a full 90, 1 shot on net, 112 touches, 99 of 105 accurate passes, 12 into the final third, 1 of 2 of accurate long balls, 6 defensive contributions, 5 clearances, 5 of 5 in the aerial duels department, which is good for a 7.5. And again, I understand it's the Scottish Premier League, and Celtic has had kind of a shitty season, really. I mean, I think they cycled through 2 different coaches, and that's never going to be the basis of a good season. But he's had some pretty good performances this year, and I still think that he's probably going to be on the World Cup roster, especially because when you consider the left side of back 3, and as of right now, it's Tim Ream. It would be nice making sure that you have another left-sided center half on that team, at least for cover. And me personally, out of the rest, whether it's Miles Robinson or whatever the case may be, he's probably better than the rest of those that are available. And lastly, Nokai Banks. He lost 4-0 to Borussia Mönchengladbach. And let me get into this really 1 second. And He played a full 90 in this one, 68 touches, 44 of 49 of accurate passes, 5 into the final third, 4 of 4 of accurate long balls, 12 defensive contributions, 7 tackles, 8 on 9 ground duels. By the way, he also had 2 chances created as well, too, in this one. Good for a 7 rating. And the inverse on this one is Joe Scally. The inverse in this one is Joe Scally. I have to mention this is because this is actually absolutely fantastic. Joe Scally, by the way. Boop, 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 boop. Where are you, Joe Scally? Where are you, Scally? He scored in this one. There you are. All right, yeah, Joe Scally played 85 minutes in this one. Had 1 goal on 3 shots in this one. 1 chances created. 23 of 27 of accurate passes. All 3 of those shots, by the way, were on target. 42 touches, 2 in the opposition box, 1 of 2 of successful dribbles, 2 tackles, 3 recoveries, 4 of 9 in ground duels, 2 of 3 in aerial duels. The dude was absolutely insane in this one. He gets an 8 rating from me. And the interesting thing, though, is this for me, center back is going to be kind of weird because Borussia Mönchengladbach switched up their tactical approach when they brought on their new manager, and they go to a back 3. Scally's been playing on the right side of the back 3. And a big part of me wonders whether or not that is going to be something that we're going to continue to see with the U.S. men's national team now that he's had more games. And my only problem is I don't think Chris Richards is suited in central is best suited as a central center back in a back 3. He plays on the right side for Crystal Palace. He's very good at that, very good in that position. Now, some people will say that it's pretty much the same position. It's really not. The angles you take the ball, the angles that you take in your first step to defend, especially when you're dealing with left-sided wingers, so you're always moving to your right. So your first step is going to be a little bit different. So essentially speaking, you're stepping forward instead of stepping to your right. And Chris Richards is just better laterally. And that's why he's a good right-sided center half, right? So the interesting thing is is that going to be something where me personally, I actually think Tim Ream might be a little bit better as a central in the central partnership in the back 3, where maybe you might consider bringing in a dude like maybe Mark McKenzie to play the left side because he does it for Toulouse, or a guy like Austin Trusty. But a big part of me thinks that it's going to go, like, starting in the World Cup, it's going to be Ream, Richards, and Scally in a back 3. That's what I'm thinking. That's what it kind of that's kind of what it feels like, which is going to happen. But that being said, Joe Scally had a pretty good week. So from that standpoint, it's now time to give you my player of the week. And of course, I'm giving it to Weston McKennie because Weston's been absolutely on fire right now. And I think that it's only appropriate just considering with everything that has come out. And, it's probably not good news that he was looking at. To find out the club that you've been grinding with for the last couple years has said, we're good. You can take off, whatever, no big deal. And, he's playing for a new contract, regardless of whether that's going to be somewhere in the Serie A or somewhere else in Europe. And the dude has tuned it all out, and he's laser focused on the football, and he just continues to put up numbers. And dude was absolutely brilliant against Cremonese. Like credit where credit's due, man. Wes had himself a weekend. Good. By the way, good performances all the way around. Good performances all the way around, minus the fact that Pepi got hurt. But if you're looking for one standout performance, it was Wes. And I think that when we all kind of think about it, 100%. Wes just had himself a fantastic week. All right, that's going to do it for me, guys. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button because we're only just a few subs away from 400. And then, of course, then we're going to turn the corner. I am working on some guests for this. And so make sure you pay attention to the post here on the YouTube. So you guys find out exactly who it is and when it will be. So again, man, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening. And take care, guys. Have a good night.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams and